Tonight, bushfire warning. Residents on the Eyre Peninsula urged to be on alert, and why Broken Hill has become the holiday hotspot in New South Wales.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Also tonight, an artistic tribute to the town of Port Pirie. First though, residents on the Eyre Peninsula are being urged to prepare their properties for bushfires after an unseasonably dry winter. The CFS is predicting a severe fire rating for the warmer months, with some indications it could be as catastrophic as previous years.
It was just before Christmas Day in 2009 when fire ravaged Port Lincoln. Residents were forced to flee burning homes as unforgiving flames destroyed everything in their path. Nearly a decade on, the CFS is gearing up for another potentially catastrophic season.
We get those fire ban days and we get the hot northerly winds with elevated temperatures. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
An unseasonably dry winter has left parts of the EP at severe risk. Recent bumper harvest means there's plenty of fuel to ignite.
There is a lot of remnant vegetation, stubble, etc., and grasses in pasture paddocks left from last year where we had an above average season.
The bushfire outlook released this week is predicting the season will start earlier than usual.
People need to prepare their homes, around their homes, clean up any rubbish and find fuels around their house and implement sheds, etc., to protect those properties in the event there is a bushfire.
The CFS urging residents to have an escape plan ready should the worst happen.
If it's a catastrophic day, you haven't got a hope in hell because it's moving that fast. People can't get there in time and it's just going to take off and travel.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
A new report from the Australian Energy Market Operator says South Australia has a 1 in 3 chance of another major blackout in the state this summer. The government says it's provided a safety net, but the opposition's concerned about our region's economy.
We all remember last year's statewide blackout, which caused millions of dollars in damage to the wireless steelworks and Port Pirie smelter. Since then, the state government has committed to a new gas power station and a power storage battery. Wireless State MP says the moves are having an impact.
An email clearly identified that the state energy plan will go a long way to securing grid stability.
AEMO's summer market update says SA has a 1 in 3 chance of being blacked out over summer. And without the energy plan, they say the chance of losing power would have been closer to 1 in 2. While the government is saying everything's okay, the opposition says there's a devil in the detail.
2 reports in the last 2 days from AEMO, both saying that South Australia is at risk of blackouts.
Mr Van Holst-Pelican says another report from the Essential Services Commission has criticised the state's high prices. And with 3 of the 5 largest energy users based in the Upper Spencer Gulf, there's concern over jobs.
The largest electricity consumers are also our largest employers. If these companies can't have affordable, reliable electricity, that goes directly to employment.
But Mr Hughes says proposed cogeneration at the wireless steelworks will help overcome shortfalls.
If there's some extra capacity there to export to the grid, that will be another positive.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A massive project is underway in Port Pirie to move steel from the decommissioned power station in Port Augusta. The metal is being salvaged and sent overseas in one of the region's biggest recycling projects.
Tucked away behind the Port Pirie Museum sits tons of scrap metal. While the pile is now metres high, the steel was once the structure of Port Augusta's power station.
Part of the demolition is a rising of approximately 40,000 tonnes of scrap metal.
Australia is now producing more scrap metal than it can possibly melt, so it's shipping the salvaged steel overseas through the Port Pirie dock. Once it arrives, it'll be recycled and then used in construction.
So we are processing all material on site and have established a storage area at 5 Port Pirie for the export of the metal to Southeast Asia.
The huge mound of steel will continue to grow over the coming weeks, with the transportation of more steel coming from the power station still expected. The shipping process will begin later this month in a massive task that's expected to take over a year to complete.
Approximately 5 shipments over the life of the project, and the one we're doing now is the first one.
McMahon Services is in charge of dismantling and transporting the steel from Port Pirí's harbour, with a few local employees involved in the project. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, it seems Broken Hill is the destination of choice for an increasing number of holidaymakers. New figures show regional New South Wales has had its best year for tourism, welcoming over 800,000 international visitors to rural communities across the state.
When it comes to tourism, Broken Hill is in a league of its own.
For all of them, it's always about the beauty of the outback, the friendliness of the people, and the heritage is so important.
New South Wales welcomed over 4 million overseas visitors in the recent financial year. It helped boost the state's economy by over $10 billion. Regional centres also saw an influx of international tourists, making for $1.1 billion worth of expenditure, a staggering 22% increase from last year.
I was in Argent Street yesterday and there were people walking up and down looking for things and doing tourist things, and that means bringing tourist dollars to our community.
As the sun starts to come out and spring begins, Daria says the best time to visit the Silver City is now. A number of major events are coming up, and she says it'll be great for the local economy.
The spring season started, and so when that starts, you know that people are moving. But it's like everyone, we're all coming outside after winter and we want to get out and do things.
Broken Hill has already been in the tourism spotlight this year. A photo taken out at the sculptures was one of the many snaps receiving praise from the I Love New South Wales campaign. City Council is currently working on installing new signage on the outskirts of town to give a warm welcome to tourists when driving in.
I think for, the councillors, that's their top priority at the moment, and for the council staff, they're looking at what the options are. I'm hoping that we'll see a result, an end result. I'm sure that my other councillors would hope that by the beginning of next year, we'll have those welcome signs in place.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Still to come in tonight's local news, a new exhibition in Port Augusta showcases a unique Indigenous culture. That's next. Welcome back. Yet another part of Port Augusta's northern power station was successfully demolished this morning. This time the explosions took place inside the turbine hall, demolishing the turbine generator ring beams. Flinders Power says the dust cloud caused during the controlled blast didn't leave the site. After today, the company says it can continue demolishing the turbine hall ahead of the next charge felling event in mid-October to bring down the 2 northern boiler structures. Whyalla Primary School students have been given a taste of the world of science and technology in the hope they pursue a career in the industries. With submarines and frigates set to be built in the state, teachers say there's never been a more important time for students to be studying science and maths subjects.
It might look like fun and games, but there's a method behind this madness. Primary school students from across Whyalla were given a glimpse of high school science and technology courses yesterday.
And the kids are able to go and explore and play for the next sort of 30 minutes and enjoy what we've got going on here in terms of STEM.
Kids explored everything from bottle rockets to 3D computers, examining the science behind things we usually take for granted.
It is that learning through doing, and we've got a STEM subject running here at the moment, and a lot of the times it's very open-ended.
It comes at a time when South Australia needs kids studying STEM subjects, with SA building the next generation of defence vehicles. Ms Owen says schools must grow the workforce.
We're looking to sort of strengthen that across not only with Whyalla High School and Stewart High School, but also the primary schools.
Some kids are already sold.
I think it's a good career because for kids who want to discover stuff, learn stuff.
It's very interesting, all the little things that are included.
And it left older students wishing they'd had a similar experience.
I would have liked to do this when I was younger, so I think it's good that all the kids that I've talked to about it, they've really enjoyed doing it.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A new art exhibition has arrived in Port Augusta. Bush Professor showcases a collection of canvases and carvings by renowned Aboriginal artist Bill Harney in the hopes of showcasing the NT's Waterman culture.
These wood carvings might look like mysterious figures, but they represent age-old Aboriginal tradition. It's the Port Augusta Cultural Centre's new display, with a professional curator brought in especially to arrange the work.
The exhibition arrived Monday morning and a curator came on Tuesday, and the curator provided direction to our gallery staff to who installed the exhibition. It took about 3 days to install.
The exhibition's curator says 80-year-old Northern Territory artist Bill Harney is renowned for giving visitors an insight into Waterman culture.
Most of his paintings are actually based on the rock painting tradition, the stories that he was told when he was growing up, and a lot of the imagery.
And he never copies original paintings.
Because that seemed to be quite sacred. And in Bill's opinion, the rock art was actually put onto the rock by ancestral beings themselves. So he was told by his father he can't copy it, but he can do versions of it.
From ceremonial lawmen like these to paintings depicting just what children learnt at Bush School, you can see why Bill Harney describes himself and the exhibition as Bush Professor. And a lot of keen buyers already own his artwork.
And they've allowed the artwork to travel around, their pieces to travel around and be part of the exhibition, which is very generous of them.
The exhibition will be on display until October the 14th before travelling to Tanunda. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
When we return after the break, the finishing touches are being put on a mural paying tribute to Port Pirie. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, the finishing touches are being put on a mural celebrating the history of Port Pirie. It's hoped the painting will lead to the town hosting a major art festival in years to come.
A fisherman casting his line into the sky. Reflecting Port Pirie's past and future, the mural is the face of a real 90-year-old man.
Once we decided on a fisherman, then it became which fisherman shall we put on there.
Artist Joel Moore is using over 120 different colours to spray paint the piece.
There's all different kinds of lights, coloured lights, that he used when he was taking the photograph.
The mural winning the hearts of the public.
I love the painting.
I like the colours of it. It looks cool. It brightens up the wall a bit. Makes it better than what it used to look like, plain and boring.
Finished ahead of schedule, it's expected to be unveiled tomorrow afternoon. Other murals are now in the works, council now looking towards the next goal.
We're bringing it together slowly to have a Wonderwalls festival here in April 2018.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, performers are busy fine-tuning routines and going through last-minute dress rehearsals before tomorrow night's charity concert in Port Lincoln. The town's mayor hosting the annual performance to showcase some of the region's best talent while raising vital funds for charity.
One last shimmy, a twist and roll through before curtains go up. Girls from Port Lincoln High School are busy practising their skills before tomorrow night's big performance.
It's a great opportunity to perform in the second half of the year, so this keeps the creativity and the performing skills alive.
The Mayor's concert also acting as a warm-up for the girls' routine at the Regional Festival of Music.
I think they will definitely be getting a pass mark for their assignment on choreography and performance.
Port Lincoln High School will be one of many acts to take centre stage. There'll even be a special performance from the man himself.
Dance, we've got song, we've got emerging talent, we've got talent that has been around for a while that's prepared to come along and entertain us.
Funds raised will be donated to the White Ribbon Foundation.
To raise a few funds to raise the issue and to stamp out domestic violence is something that I think is really worthwhile.
There's big rewards afterwards when you get that applause from the audience.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Despite holding a grand final over the weekend, the Broken Hill footy season isn't quite over yet. Groups of Aboriginal youths flocked to the Silver City as part of the Clontarf Foundation's inaugural football carnival.
It's not over yet.
We've got boys from all across Western New South Wales.
The first ever Clontarf Silver City Shield Football Carnival was held today, hosting 7 regional academies from towns including Orange, Dubbo and Griffith. Broken Hill's local academy was also on the field. The Clontarf Foundation works with Aboriginal boys to help them get through school and into the workforce. Camps and carnivals like this one, rewards for the boys' performance in the classroom.
We pick our boys based on their engagement in school, their attendance at school and their behaviour, also their attendance at our training sessions. We don't pick boys on ability on the footy field, it's all about how well they're going in school.
Juniors took to the field to have a kick and a catch and a bit of fun as well. The action continues tonight with Broken Hill High Clontarf Academy side taking on Williama High School, under lights at Memorial Oval. Only one team will walk away with the shiny new shield.
That'll be a bit of a showcase game for our boys and a bit of a reward for our Year 12 boys.
Organisers are very pleased that several academies made it for the first ever carnival. They say it was a great result.
Every year it'll get bigger. It's generally the way things go. We start small and work out logistics and timings, and then we'll get bigger and better from every year to come.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
All right, time to see what's biting around the Gulf now. Here's Fish and Tips.
Welcome to another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. I'm as excited as Yogi Bear at a picnic basket sale. There is a fantastic weekend coming up with no wind, plenty of tide and salmon everywhere. So I think what we need to do is just burley up a little bit, find out from 2nd to 3rd Creek through to Port Broughton, you'll find a beautiful feed of salmon, some bigger in size. King George whiting you'll really have to fight well for, but you will get to them if you keep trying. But tides are perfect for this weekend, the moon's in the right sphere, so I think you'll be all going well. Now remember, we've been tipping that September is the time that we see our first run of snapper, so don't forget burley up on some of your drops.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, great feeds of crabs at the moment, so if you finish with the whiting, try and top up on those crabs. Leave the nets in for about 10 minutes, then they start coming on the bite. Some salmon up and around Port Patterson. Along the shacks, the high tides of the morning, they have been getting some silver whiting as well. Still plenty of squid to be caught in most places.
The snapper have been a little bit slow this week. We've had some terrible weather, but hopefully things will look up over the weekend with some good tides and good weather coming. The best areas to target has been the Rip. It has been hit and miss. Also, the old Leeton Tug's been producing a few big fish on the swing of the tide, so that's probably your best chance for a snapper. The King George whiting are really starting to move in. If you work your way further down south towards Cowlard's Landing and Menini, there's been some really good fish down there, right up into the 40 centimetre mark. So now's the time to get into them. The squid have been a little bit quiet, and also there's been a few blue swimmer crabs starting to show up in the deeper waters.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, locally in the bay, the whiting have been pretty slow still, but outside of the bay, they are starting to improve. There's still a few squid within the bay. They're only smaller fish. Down on the south coast, the Sleaford-Dewana stretch has some nice schools of salmon down there. They're good-sized schools. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there are some whiting within the bay system. Farm Beach, there have been some whiting caught out there as well. Once again, the size has been pretty small, so you will have to measure a lot of fish, so take care there. Up the west coast, there's been some good schools of salmon. The Australian Salmon Fishing Championships have come to a close, and a big congratulations to Matthew Gawn, who landed a 5.62 kilo fish to take out the prize for this year.
Do stay with us after the break. A check of the local weather with Nicole Johnston. And Nicole, there were clear skies across the region today.
Yes, that's right, Fraser. It'll warm up for some of our centres over the weekend. All the details next. Weather now, clear skies across most of our region today. 19 degrees the top in Port Augusta, 18 in Whyalla. A few showers about in Port Lincoln though, 16 the maximum there. A wet day in Adelaide as well with a top of 15. On the satellite, a bit of low cloud across southern parts of South Australia in moist southwesterly winds is bringing showers mainly for the coast. Otherwise, skies are looking pretty clear across the north as winds dry out over land. On the Gulf waters, winds are west-southwesterly between 10 and 15 knots. Seas over a metre with a south-southwesterly swell. The sun will rise just after 6:30, sunset just after 6 p.m. A few showers about tomorrow, but still plenty of sunshine on the way. Mostly clear skies in Port Augusta for 18, 17 for Whyalla. Showers expected in Port Lincoln for 15, Coffin Bay only slightly warmer for 16, Broken Hill hitting 17 degrees and Kadina will see some wet weather, 15 the top. Looking ahead, those showers will clear in time for the weekend in Port Lincoln for a sunny top of 21 on Sunday. A similar story for Cleve and warming up in Woodner for 25 on Sunday. A top of 18 for Saturday in Whyalla, warming up to 25 on Sunday. Port Augusta our warmest though, 21 to 26 degrees over the weekend. Showers clearing in Kadina reaching 20 degrees by Sunday. Remaining fine also in Port Pirie, 18 for Saturday. The sun will be coming out in Clare on Saturday, 14 the top. Looking pretty clear in Broken Hill on Saturday as well, 17 before a mild 20 degrees on Sunday. And that's your local weather for tonight. Fraser.
Thanks, Nicole. And that is Southern Cross News for this Thursday. Don't forget you can stay up to date on Facebook and Twitter. You can also send us an email. Enjoy your evening. Good night.